Yes, I realize that was totally cheesy. That's all captured footage from Elite Dangerous, but it gives me the idea of where I was kind of hoping to go, and hopefully over time we can make that better. I've actually got some assets that should allow us to improve the quality of that down the road by actually doing a pre-rendered sequence instead of capturing it from a video game. But that is, like I said, that's just kind of where I was hoping to go with it.
Elite Dangerous has a Babylon 5 station.
All the stations, Elite Dangerous has many different stations now. And some of them look a lot like that one. Some of them are just a big globe. And they have the original station from Elite too, which is basically I don't know what it is, like a 12-sided three-dimensional polygon that spins.
Okay.
So basically it looks like a giant glitch.
Yeah. Essentially.
So welcome everybody to tonight's podcast and everything. I hope you guys are in the long haul because we've got a lot going on.
A lot going on tonight.
Yeah.
You?
So I do believe. Okay, so I guess Jim's not going to show what he's playing.
Oh, so that's the first bit of news. Jim, go ahead and talk about Diablo 3.
Season 23 started tonight, 5 o'clock.
Hold on.
Why are you here when you could be playing?
Hey.
No, that's not true. I need something to listen to while I play as well.
Okay, so for those of you that have not played Diablo Seasons are the best way to re-experience Diablo because you start over with a brand new character at level 1. You get to play through again. And during the season, there's always an unusual effect that's active. What's the effect this season? Yeah, this season has 2. What are the 2 effects that are active this time?
When you hit the pylons, the shrines, you get a super character of your class that follows you around for 1 minute as long as you don't leave the level and just wastes everything. And tonight's cube will use 4 items instead of just 3. So there should be some really good builds this season.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was like I was saying earlier to Jim, the Kanai's Cube gives you the ability to create new builds for your character that are impossible with sets normally, because you've got 3 more slots that you can use for set items. But what I love is that the idea of that 4th set being that we can then actually have 2 full sets running on your character at the same time.
Yeah, the only thing that it won't do is I got the liquid rainbow right off the bat. And it will not allow you to stack the same item twice.
Right.
So like you've got a wand of woe and you got your explosions going. You can't have 2 of them to really have the explosions going.
Diablo, the original Diablo, as it turns out, is the first action RPG on computing platforms. And interesting, it is. Interesting little interesting little side note. The original Diablo was intended to be not just a roguelike, it was intended to be a graphical version of Rogue. Down to they wanted it turn-based.
Yeah, it was going to be
all I'm going to say is thank God they didn't.
Oh, God.
So,
that would have been a footnote in history and been gone.
Yeah,
so,
it just didn't been around long.
So, happy, joy. The new season of Diablo 3 is out, and I hope you guys are going to have a really fun time with that. And let's get back to the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Oh, goodness. Hi. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Hi.
Over here.
You can't plug on the microphone. It doesn't sound that good. Okay.
So tonight we got a lot going on. Apparently I didn't finish filling out our outline here. As you guys as you guys all know, if you've been watching Star Trek Discovery, we've had 2 new episodes over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they have been by turns interesting and excellent. We had 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, including let's try that again. 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, including the one that most of us probably haven't watched yet that
3
that premiered today.
3. The one with the spiders in it, and then the 2 for the last 2 weeks.
Right, so we had Baby Yoda's Spider Party, Baby Yoda's Ocean Adventure, and this week's was The Siege. And
you mean his love for frog eggs?
Oh, dude.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll get there.
okay.
We'll talk
Yeah.
about that.
Hey, Peanut Gorilla, welcome to the podcast.
Yo, Peanut. We also have a question from a viewer. I will say this is viewer's imaginary. This viewer might even be me. And then we have some interesting and surprise, not like surprise, just we have some more things everybody's going to talk about at the end that we didn't get a chance to actually put in the outline. So, as we always have to remind you, Bunny, are there spoilers?
There are spoilers ahead.
There are always spoilers.
Why can't you go somewhere else? Why do you have to be right here?
The timing of that statement with
Sorry.
spoilers was just so great.
It is very late. It's actually really early for me. I just got up 2 hours ago, so might there be spoilers? There might be spoilers ahead. Yes, Peanut Gorilla, that is correct. Hi,
So,
baby. I need to
show
put
of
you
hands. Who has actually watched the prior 2 episodes of Discovery? Last night, the one that dropped last night, and the one that dropped last week. I know Jim did because we watched them together. Bunny,
I've only
Are
watched
you
the
caught up,
first
Judd?
episode.
Why wouldn't I be caught up?
I'm just checking. Not
I'm the
everybody's
only
not.
person that hasn't caught up.
It's okay.
Okay.
The one thing, like, I was completely and totally in for social interacting with Tom and Jim the other night. And then they start talking about the episode I hadn't gotten to yet. I was like, fuck this, I'm
She's
out.
like, nope. Bye.
And I hit the nope button so quick. I'm pretty sure they had no clue what happened. I just dropped off the face of the planet for a second.
Oh yeah, and I was recording, so OBS blocks Discord notifications now. So Bunny left, and we had no clue until like 20 minutes later. I'm like, wait, where'd Bunny go? What
I
is she
sent
so
a
quiet?
message.
Discord does it.
I sent a message and I was like, not cool, not cool. Just like, nope. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm debating whether to disable streamer mode in OBS because most of the time when I'm recording, I just want video anyways. I don't care whether or not the bleeps and the bloops happen.
That's streamer mode in Discord, not OBS.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right, in Discord. So, last week's Discovery, the Discovery found Federation headquarters and Starfleet headquarters, which are now in the same place. As we discovered 2 weeks ago, that place is no longer Earth.
Cool
The seat
base,
of the-
dumb ships.
What's that, Jim?
I said they have a really cool base and really done work themselves.
I think, yeah. Did you notice? I didn't even notice this previously. That picture in the upper right, is that an Intrepid class up there? I thought we only had a real close-up shot of the Voyager J, but it looks like that's another shot of it from the rear end. Or is that something else?
I can't really tell from the picture.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this episode? Remember all the things that happened. They got to Starfleet headquarters, and while they're there, the Starfleet, even though they have the magic computer that's like, we know exactly what you're thinking because we can read your body down to the quantum wavelengths now. So we can read your thoughts, apparently. At least they can read whether or not someone's lying.
Comprehensive AI units, basically.
Yeah.
So basically, you have a medical bay personnel who can not exist, but exist. That comes over and basically goes, okay, I'm going to take your temperature and use all of the science to determine if you're lying to me or not.
So even though we've got this computer system that's so smart it can tell whether you're lying without having to hook you up to a polygraph, the Admiral still doesn't trust Saru and Michael. He thinks apparently they're there for his dilithium. So the Discovery sets out to prove themselves by seeking out the seed vault to help the whatever that race of people was that we'd never seen before, that were all dying from some genetically altered plants on some planet somewhere.
And we'll never see again.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think
Oh, they're a MacGuffin race.
Hold up. Jim, go ahead.
I think when they're talking about being able to tell if you're lying or not, I don't think they were talking about actually telling a lie. Because, I mean, they had lie detectors all the way back in the original Star Trek. They used them in the episode Court Martial. Remember, you put your hand on the thing and it told you whether you were lying or not?
Oh, that's right.
So I think maybe they were looking for, like, if you were real humans and if you were programmed to lie and not know it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, people can lie without realizing they're lying if they're.
Can we turn Jim up a little? Yes, I can, Peanut. Would you mind repeating that?
You want me to turn something up? Oh,
okay, so I turned Jim up. So basically, what Jim just said was, it's not really a lie detector, but if like you were built or programmed and didn't know it, they might be able to detect that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, because I mean, there was a lie detector, like I said, all the way back in the original series. Whenever they had a courtroom, you had to put your hand on the little light circle next to the chair, and the computer would tell you if you were lying.
Yeah. But as we know, both polygraphs and voice stress analysis can be fooled, mostly through subconscious means. Like if someone may be telling what they think is the truth, but not actually consistent with reality for whatever reason, and that would cause any sort of lie detector to fail.
And
objective truth.
Like if you ever take an introductory to criminal justice course, you'll learn that one of the ways that polygraphs are actually thrown out of case situations is when it's found that the person has been intoxicated or has done drugs in the last 24 hours. People with certain medical conditions and mental conditions cannot be polygraphed because it's inconclusive. If it's found that the person is if they're schizophrenic, or if they have me, I can't be polygraphed because I've got a slow heart. my heart rate literally doesn't change enough to determine anything other than the fact that I'm still alive.
Yeah, polygraphs aren't even legal here. You can't use them in criminal cases. You can't use them for employment verification, unless you're government, in which case you can. I feel like that's a little bit of a double standard, but
yeah. But anyways, in regards to that, it's kind of a hit and miss science because we're learning more things about the human body as time goes on. And I think that shows in this episode that we are learning a lot about the 900 years that had passed and how the Federation had become defensive of itself.
Very defensive, very insular, and to some degree xenophobic.
So the opposite of what it's supposed to be.
Exactly the opposite of what it's supposed to be.
Don't know that I'd go that far. They are kind of all that's left.
True.
I mean, they have to keep an eye on stuff. Yeah. I mean, look at it from their point of view. The ship shows up from 1,000 years ago. Look, it's all the dilithium in the world. You've been taken over by an alien AI, and you're telling me that you have a spaceship drive that we've never heard of, and even we, 1,000 years in the future, can't duplicate. Of course you do. Please have a seat.
Yeah, we're going to introduce you to these nice big people within the white smocks. Don't worry, they're not going to hurt you.
It'll be just fine. And then when they find out they're not lying, the amazing part to me is they let that ship leave space dock.
Yeah, and here's something interesting. I was just thinking about this. It seems like every time in TNG especially, whenever time travel happens, LaForge is over there with his tricorder going, well, yeah, Captain. I mean, their chronographic signature matches what we would have expected from something 300 years ago. That ship definitely traveled through time. Yeah, and I find myself wondering why those robot guys weren't like, well, of course, Admiral, that ship's chronographic signature says it was from 930 years ago. Their story rings true, sir.
Because they're not Geordi LaForge and his magic visor? I mean, come on, that thing could do so much crap by the end of Star Trek. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah, it was definitely turning into a Mary Sue of technology.
Hold up. Judd? Go ahead.
Or there's the possibility is just that they don't have anybody on the writing staff that would even think about that.
Good point.
Or even know about previous Star Trek that, oh, hey, we might have this.
Right. I mean, you've got to think about all the technology that was destroyed during the burn. You have to think about all the people, all the intelligence that was lost during the burn. You know.
Well, I doubt that.
Well, the thing is, Geordi LaForge passed on information, right? He passed on what he knew, the technology that he had. It was used for specific reasons. But when the burn happened, they did lose a lot of stuff. And the thing is, you can have the technology, you can have the intelligence, but when you lack the communication to connect it all together, and you lack the ability to go through space and time in the way that the ship can, they travel super quick with a flip, literally. You basically cut yourself off to less information. So even if it's still in the database somewhere, it's in a computer somewhere, it may not be available to the isolated, what is now the Federation.
This little single node hanging out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But they don't have the communications infrastructure from what they had.
That's true.
In the previous time.
That does beg the question. Go ahead.
Well, I've only watched about most of the first episode because I was trying to catch up on Mandalorian. And I'm looking at the way they're controlled. You had gatekeeping on communication, basic communication. I'm not talking advanced stuff, military stuff. Just to be able to contact a ship required going to a specific place and bargaining to be able to have access to it. What does that say about that society at that point? If you have gatekeeping for basic communication, I can guarantee there's going to be a ton of technology lost. Not just because of the lack of communications, but because you don't have the interaction that you used to have under the Federation. And one of the things that made the Federation was people were connecting. It's like the big atrium Apple had in their headquarters, their previous headquarters. We're not Apple, I'm sorry, Pixar. Steve Jobs did that on purpose to get people to bump into each other and talk, to get ideas forming by bouncing off each other. And it proved to be massively successful. Some of their biggest leaps in design and animation came because one guy bumped into another one and said, "Hey, I got an idea for you. I want to run by you." You don't have that. Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking at that and it's like, then you have gatekeepers that are going on. It's like, that's dangerous in and of itself. But
so is it fair to say that our current global communication network, known as the internet, and before that even the public telephone network, that making it cheap and easily accessible, because remember when we were kids, it was like you'd call grandma and it was 25 cents a minute, so you talked for 5 minutes and that was it. Now we can have an hours long conversation across the country at no additional cost to us. So is it fair to say that he who controls the communications controls everything?
Oh, that's the way it's been for as long as people have been warring. And look at how encryption and cipher technology came about. It's been around for ages. It's how generals and commanders talk to each other. Keep the information out of the enemy's hand, and guess what? You can pull stuff off. But if someone can intercept it, your plans are for naught. And that was before we had instantaneous communication. I can only imagine how bad it is now.
Yeah.
It really brings to light how important it is, and I promise not to wax political, but it does bring to light how important it is to maintain a neutral communications infrastructure where we don't have any one gatekeeper that has the ability to cut off communications to millions or billions of people.
Yeah, you can use the Great Firewall of China as a great example of why this is a very dangerous thing.
Yes, that is very true, but there are certain topics that we should probably avoid for time's sake. So
it might even be argued that the biggest problem with this post-burn Federation is not, this post-burn civilization is not the lack of warp drive, it's the lack of subspace communications relays.
Exactly.
Yeah, like they said. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is one of the lines that struck me in the first episode is you coming out of Wormhole. Do you really think it was appropriate to destroy 11 light years of subspace?
Okay, to be clear, they didn't destroy 11 light years of subspace. The Gorn destroyed 11 light years of subspace when they tried to build an artificial wormhole.
Yeah, it's an off-the-cuff comment, and it was put in context. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and that was it was an offhand comment, and we had a lot of discussion about that on one of the groups I'm in. But yeah, the statement actually was the Gorn blew up 11 years of subspace when they tried. So the Discovery didn't destroy subspace with the wormhole. Somebody else did with prior time travel experiments.
Yeah. Judd, do you have any take on this?
I think you're misconstruing, because the book character basically didn't want to have anything to do with Michael, so he lied and didn't say, and basically didn't want to let her use his subspace communicator.
That's
Because
right.
he just had one on. He had one on his lapel. What the hell? So all he did was just tell her, "Well, there's the public communication station. Go for it."
Yeah. So the thing is, though, that communication isn't galaxy wide. So once they're out of a certain range, they lack the communication. That would be like, I couldn't talk to family that I have in the UK because our phones don't reach that far. Oh, sorry. It would be like not being able to talk to, basically, I wouldn't be able to talk to you guys because you're outside of my state's range.
It's why we have satellites. You can, a ship at sea can only communicate to the horizon over radio unless they're using shortwave, and that's really low bandwidth. So they use satellites to relay that communication to another satellite, which then relays it to a land-based station. Subspace relays serve the same exact function. A subspace message may carry for 20 or 30 light years, but when you've got a civilization that spans 100,000 light or 10,000 light years, however big, not just the Federation itself, but keeping in mind that you've got the Klingons, the Romulans, the Breen, all these other empires are part of that civilization. To be able to communicate over a range of 10,000 light years, you need these relays, these relay stations to be functioning.
Yeah, and if we, good.
And not only are they
sector is, but they were pretty specific in the first episode that the starbase could only communicate for 30 sectors.
He did say that, didn't he?
Yep.
I'm betting that if someone did manage to start rebuilding the relay network, that you'd find the Andorians out there knocking those things down as quick as someone can put them up.
Possibly. And it could also be that some of the species that have come back into power since the Federation isn't around, they don't really want people eavesdropping on that. They don't want them hearing what Starfleet is up to. So they just don't talk.
There's that too.
Yeah, I mean, even under the Federation, the early days of the Federation, before anything had happened with the Klingons didn't screw with the communication networks. It was a double-edged sword. Starfleet could use it to listen on them, but they can also use it to listen on Starfleet. So communications networks were generally, like the subspace repeaters, were typically left alone. It's just really interesting that it was taken apart at this point in time, because that's really weird.
I think they failed naturally because they were not able to maintain them because of the lack of warp drive.
Well, I think that's part of it, but I would also imagine that those relays are probably dilithium powered. And they more than likely, when the burn happened, they blew up.
That's a really good point.
The relay, there was an episode of TNG that dealt with a relay station. They used fusion reactors, but they used multiple fusion reactors. So maybe you're right. Maybe an antimatter reactor would be more efficient, and eventually they switched over to antimatter power.
Sure you're not thinking of the episode that had the Argus array in it, because that was a telescope, not a subspace relay.
Oh, you're correct. You know what? You're right.
Because I'm thinking about the amount of power it needs, because oftentimes when a ship's warp core is offline, they can't really use subspace for very long.
But even Deep Space Nine did not have an antimatter reactor. It used a fusion reactor.
Yeah. So even though there's like a lot of speculation and we can make a lot of assumptions, no matter how it happened, because it's been voiced that it occurred, we can assume that even though not all communications have been destroyed, the communication that has been destroyed has hindrance the influence that the Federation has had with the planets that were once a part and the species that were once a part of its network. So
yes,
and that has been named a number of times, and it doesn't really matter when or how the lack of communication happens. Maybe they'll go into detail of that. Maybe they won't. We do know that they're going to be seeking out the source of the burn, and that's extremely important to the Federation, as Micah and the head of the Federation, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, has stated in the last 2 episodes. Like, it has been a very center topic. And both Micah, who the AI, informed her that, or asked her if she was prone to emotional outbursts type shit, they're both emotional. They are both passionate about the Federation. And they kind of butt heads. And the captain that is in charge of Micah, informs her that, maybe she should choose her words more wisely when around. Huh?
Who's Micah?
Mike, sorry.
She means Michael.
Yeah,
Michael.
sorry.
She's ever only gone by Michael.
Yeah, sorry. I shortened it. My brain does that with names.
And he's the head of Starfleet, not the Federation. I don't know who the head of Federation is yet, as of yet.
Yeah, you kind of get the understanding, but thank you for the correction.
Okay, one question. I haven't seen earlier episodes, and frankly, I'm liking the season so far that where I don't care about spoilers. Like, I'm really liking Discovery. I never thought I would say those words.
Yeah. I'm enjoying this season so far too. I think this is the most Star Trek, the most back to the original formula of all the seasons.
But the question I wanted to pose to you guys, sorry, Bunny, do you want to interject?
Yeah, Peanut Gorilla said the off-the-cuff knowledge of this channel is astounding. So we just got a compliment, and I just wanted to put it in there.
Well, thank you.
Well, you can thank Jim and you can thank Tom. They're the Star Trek uber nerds, and then Judd's sitting right up there next to him. I, on the other hand, I grew up watching TNG going, this is cool, and watching Voyager going, this is awesome. And now as an adult looking back going, why didn't I like Deep Space Nine? It's really good.
Deep Space Nine is really good.
Yeah, no, it took me growing up. I liked the episode. I finally figured out what it was, but that's for another time. I'll talk about that offline.
Your question.
The question I wanted to pose is, if they went 900 years in the past to get away from an evil AI, why are they dealing with a new AI?
They went 900 years.
900 years in the future.
Get away from an AI.
But this new AI is totally under control by the Federation. It's not Starfleet. It's not something that has subverted itself. I'm
going to assume that the AI on the station is derived from Data's matrix, which we all know that Data has always been a well-balanced, caring individual, as opposed to Control, which was all about, control.
He's one of the talking points people use for AIs going, look, if we don't try to treat an AI or if we treat an AI as a person, not an object or something to do work for us, I'm talking a true AI, then the likelihood of Terminator and all the other dystopian futures AI movies is a lot less likely to come about.
So this isn't like a droid. It's not an individual. It is more described as a program, but it was referred to as it's basically like the same AI that we see on the ship in Picard. They brought that over into.
It's an EMH.
Yes, thank you. Would
yeah.
you like to, for our viewers, describe what that is?
Emergency medical hologram.
Yeah.
One of the few things that I liked that came out of Voyager.
Yeah, the Doctor.
Very, very, very few.
Although it's arguable that the Doctor was created in part by several things, including the mobile emitter that allowed him to grow beyond his original programming.
Yeah.
Because the original Doctor should have been destroyed. In fact, he was self-destructing, and they had to, I believe it was season 2, they had to actually rebuild his program using a diagnostic AI, and in the process, they destroyed both the original EMH and the diagnostic AI and created a new hybrid AI.
So you mentioned season 2. This would be season 2 of
Voyager.
There you go. just for reference, because we're talking about so many different things in the Star Trek universe. There have been so many seasons and so many different Star Treks that we need to make sure that when we reference something, even though we know, other people might not know or might get lost if we don't mention exactly what it's from. Anyways. We should move on to.
Yeah, let's before we move on. Is there any closing thoughts on that on Die Trying? I mean, we basically glossed over the whole seed vault thing because it seemed so
silly,
pointless.
It's a MacGuffin.
It was a way of getting a character who, in a prior season, had felt obligated to take the place of another person. It was a way to get her into a place where she was okay with herself again. Did you guys see the tribute ship?
Well, I haven't done the research on that character yet, but I have a feeling we're going to find the actors themselves needed to be out of the show for some reason.
Yeah,
because it was very abrupt, and the way that they wrote them out, I didn't particularly like. It didn't make a lot of sense, and that ship didn't make a lot of sense either.
So, I just got a question on for us on the podcast topics. Did you guys see the tribute ship? It's not a spoiler. It's Easter egg tribute.
There were 2 tribute ships. The Nog, which is awesome because that means that little Ferengi, not only was he the first Ferengi in Starfleet, but he grew to such importance that they named a starship after him. And then there was also the Voyager J, which is, I believe, the one you're seeing in the image that's kind of in the top right over there. And the Voyager J, what did they say? The 10th J? No, JK11.
11th.
The 11th generation of since. And this one bugs me just a little bit because it sounded like they knew what the Voyager was. But as we all know, this ship, that Discovery preceded Voyager by a century. So they can't have known what Voyager was.
I think the comment was along the lines of, that's the J? You mean that's been the 10th version of a ship? They've had that many evolutionary designs? 11th.
Yeah.
Okay. Many designs? Wow.
I think that was, as Jim might say in D&D, that was player knowledge and not character knowledge, and I think they screwed that one up.
Just a bit, but
Go ahead, Jim.
I agree with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think the writers made a mistake
just
there.
From the way
they should have known who Voyager was, and they shouldn't have even commented on it.
Yeah, they shouldn't have.
When you're doing a show like that and it has a section in it that is obvious fan service, I mean, come on, the Nog.
It was.
You know, they wrote that part of the show for the people watching it, not necessarily for the characters in it. It was directed directly at us. Went right over their head, out the screen, and into your eyes.
And of course, let's just address the Ferengi in the room. Aaron Eisenberg did pass away recently, and I believe that ship was an homage not to the character but to the actor. And I to everyone that says Aaron Eisenberg was one of the bright lights of Deep Space Nine, I completely agree. I've been rewatching the series, and as an actor, he is so great in that show. He's so perfect for that part.
So Peanut Gorilla said the Nog, it was the one I was referencing as a tribute to Aaron Eisenberg. So in reference to what you, before you said that.
Yeah.
So, and I absolutely agree that, they lost a, shining star. Judd, what were you trying to say?
Oh, just that, you're right. They were commenting about how this is the Voyager J. It's not that they had any specific knowledge to it. They were calling it out specifically as a fan service, just specifically for the Star Trek fans. That's what it was for.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
It's kind of too bad we didn't see an Enterprise November or something like that. I think that would have been too obvious, though.
Yeah, that would have been a little too on the nose, especially with Picard.
Think
being
that
on
would
the
have
air.
Been from Enterprise, from actual Star Trek Enterprise, when that would have been the J.
He's gonna do the math. Oh no.
I'm trying to
Okay.
remember. There was an episode where Mr. Daniels from
Jim
the
knows
future
this one. You were talking about this last week, Jim.
brought
Enterprise J.
Enterprise
it was
J.
Enterprise J. Okay,
That was about 800 years in the future. So this would be,
Yeah.
if we built a new Enterprise every 50 years, we'd be up to KLMN. So, like I said, an Enterprise November.
No, that's why they didn't have it there in that group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should go ahead and wrap up that topic. I
have
do.
one more thing, one more observation about the show, and it struck me a couple of days ago. When you're thinking about the new Federation and what they've done to the show, basically you're watching the United States in 1830.
Yeah, that's true.
The telegraph
Yeah.
only goes so far. We've got really good machines, but we don't have a lot of them. And the frontier is a whole lot bigger than we are. I kind of like it when I think about it like that. That's all. Just something I had thought about.
One minor point from what Brad was saying earlier. I honestly feel this is where they should have started season 1 out of.
Yes.
That
They
would have
got
been
showed
amazing.
900
Yeah.
years in the future. This would have been perfect because there's none of this baggage that they have to work around of already existing canon.
Well,
That there's already fans going, oh, they really shouldn't have been like that. Oh, what this? No.
So do you
It
want to
should have
have the
started.
ship? Do you want to have the ship having time traveled in the beginning, or just that Discovery just starts 1,000 years later?
Just
Magic
Discovery just
mushroom
starts in
incident.
the future.
Okay.
well, maybe. I don't know. I really liked season 2 of Discovery. I know some people don't. I really did. And the first season was just, guys, you had a bunch of people working on it and doing the show that weren't really fans. You know, they may have had people they could ask that were fans, but they weren't. And they tried to make an action adventure show, and they kind of missed the whole point of Star Trek. You know, I want things blown up and I want people having fights, but that's not really what Star Trek is about.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave that one at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next episode was Scavengers, and to wrap this episode up in a nutshell, Michael gets a message from her boyfriend Book, and she leads a slave revolt.
Yeah. Michael's going to be Han Solo.
Yeah. Yeah, she's going to be flying
Michael-
solo at the end of this episode as well after getting her butt knocked down. Her rank.
Also, no, Michael's going to lose her rank.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't lose her rank, but she did lose her. She did lose her position.
And, she should have.
Yes, and she said that openly. She actually looked at her captain and respected his decision and said, "You did the right thing." And that's what a lot of people nowadays do not do. When they know that they are in the wrong, they do not accept their part in what they did. And right there, she was accepting the fact that, yes, she broke command. Yes, she broke trust. And she basically pointed out, hey, if I was in your shoes and the tables were reversed, I would have to do the same thing. And you did the right thing. When she said that to him, it reinforced his basically just like his emotions surrounding going into the future with her, because she had made him do 2 hard things. And I think this was the second hardest. The first hardest was basically choosing to take his entire crew at the point where he wasn't really feeling that he was the captain of the crew, and going into the future. Abandoning that to protect information to go with her. That was the first hardest thing. The second hardest thing was once they reconnected with, Starfleet and everything, he had to sit there and say, my number one has gone basically rogue. And though he has a lot of feelings of love and support for Michael, she gave him a very hard decision. And it was like, for him, turning on his own child.
I do got to ask the question though. The more I think about the whole that whole chain of events, the more I think Saru made a huge mistake. As they're talking about, as she's telling him about the message that came in, he didn't even consider going to Admiral Vance to say, "Can we go investigate this?" He just flat out said no. And what did the Admiral say at the end of the episode? He said, "I probably would have deemed that intelligence worth the effort." I would have given you permission to go if you just asked. That's what bugs me is she should have gone to the Admiral. And that's what I have a problem with.
She should have gone to the Admiral, but instead she decided to take it upon herself to just up and leave, knowing that there was a situation in the Federation that could be of grand importance. But it's not the captain's mistake, because he was doing what he thought was right, because they had been given a mission, and he thought that mission in his orders were more important than what had come in. So he was doing what he thought was right, and then she just kind of like, as soon as he said no, she was like a child. She heard no, and you could see it written on her face that she had been told no for the first time in for a long time.
Yeah.
And she was told to behave, and she could not cope. She could not cope.
Well, I'm gonna put an alternate theory out here. I'm gonna put an alternate opinion out here and say that I think she did the right thing. Defying orders and all, I think she did the right thing, and she did what needed to be done.
Yeah, she did something for the greater good of both the Federation, for the information on the burn, and for herself and Book. But at the same time, if she had got, like you said, if she had just gone and spoke up the command chain and said, "Hey, this situation has arisen. They found information related to this that is important to us. We need to intervene and go take care of this," things would have turned out differently. We wouldn't have as much excitement.
Do you think that the biggest problem here was Saru's lack of confidence? Maybe he is not as confident a leader as we think he is right now. Because I feel like he's. Watching him.
Like Tilly brought up, they are walking on eggshells. They are having to prove that they are worth not being split up. They are all afraid. And Michael's feelings, her romantic interest, took precedent over the entire crew in their eyes.
That's not what happened. It was what she thought was right, and she wasn't going to do anything else. In the very first show of the very first season, she knocks out her own captain and starts a war because, goddamn, Michael's right.
Okay,
don't ever agree with Michael. And now here we are, and she's doing the same thing. She would have been off my ship so fast, her heels would not even have touched the ground.
But
she can go 31, she can run off with Book. She can jump back inside that space worm for all I give a shit. You're gone.
I'm going to take issue with. I'm going to
Yeah.
take issue with the statement that she started a war, because that's been said over and over again, and that's not what actually happened. The Klingons were going to start a war regardless of what happened. She just happened to have been there. But yeah, everything else, she took it on herself to do something. She'd been told, no, I'm right. Everybody else is wrong. It doesn't matter. That definitely shows the most extreme form of arrogance that I can imagine.
Yes, and the thing is, it's in turn reckless. And in all honesty, I was waiting for someone to die because she had a rush to judgment. Because she decided, even like with everything that's happened, she doesn't take into account the oddities that she notices. And she just rushes to who will have my back in this and go with me regardless of command. And then there are issues that could have ended her. It could have ended Book, and it could have caused a lot more issues for the Federation because if anything had gone wrong, the uprising would have failed. Book would have died, and the person that controls that area of space, because we now know that someone controls an entire planet, a shipyard, a scrapyard that has Federation parts on it, it would have been a war. And it would have been...
They're already kind of at war with the Orion Syndicate, though.
Yeah. At the same time, though.
That's not the point. Every time she runs off on her own in this show, she gets everybody around her in deep shit, and she comes out smelling like a rose because everybody goes, "Oh, it's okay, Michael. You're the smart one." Whoa! There's a shuttlecraft.
Take your little Millennium Falcon and knock off and leave.
Be a hero somewhere, write us a letter and tell us how awesome you are. Have a nice life.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I don't like the character. I love the character, but at the same time, I can see where the captain is trying to sit there and say, "Cool your fucking jet and let us adjust. We need to start doing things to, for the better of our crew, for our family, what is left of us." And it takes like the end of the second episode that we're speaking of, it takes the end of that for them to say, "Welcome home." It takes all of that, and it's like, if you hadn't saved lives, if that wasn't a factor, if you had not saved lives, you wouldn't be standing here right now.
Yeah. So, do you guys think that this is a well-written, flawed character, or do you think this is just a failure in the writer's room? Because I'm going to say, I think this is a failure in the writer's room, personally.
Well, I think it was a failure in the writer's room in the first season. I think they made a huge mistake. I really like her backstory, unlike a lot of people. I don't have a problem with time travel and conspiracy hiding that Spock had his sister. I think it's kind of neat.
It does add some depth, yeah.
Because now, 1,000 years from now, the House of Sarek still rules. And I can handle that. But it's almost like she has an inferiority complex. I was the only human, growing up around all these other Vulcans that went to school, so she's got to show off and show she's better than everybody else. And it just doesn't fit. I really hope that they come out with a new series and that it's around Section 31. Although I hate the idea of Section 31. She would make a great operative.
I mean, there was that.
Her and Giorgio, that crazy Giorgio team they've got going on together. That would be awesome. But
that was supposed to happen, and they pulled Section 31 in favor of Picard. So, as far as I know right now, Section 31 is not being produced, which is a disappointment.
Real quick, for those who might not know, can we go into a quick wrap up of what Section 31 is? Quick.
CIA meets NSA.
Star Trek's version of the KGB.
Well, Star Trek's version.
The Federation's version of the KGB, of the CIA. Yeah.
It's like the CIA and the NSA were all rolled into one. With our job is to make sure you're safe, even whether you like it or not. See how Barnum fits in.
Yeah, and they basically don't have rules. They lie, they cheat, they go undercover. They will invade foreign nations. They will do anything they need to in order to ensure the Federation's safety.
So, Peanut Gorilla's take on it is Star Trek Black Ops. Got it.
Star Trek Black Ops. That's a good one.
The thing is in my personal opinion, from what I've read, I think Roddenberry would have signed off on Section 31, but he would have wanted them to be portrayed as bad guys, or at least not good guys.
And they kind of are treated that way in pretty much every...
I don't want to really theorize what it could have been or what the writers would have wanted. I just wanted a synopsis of what exactly that is.
Yeah, they are Starfleet's spy and special operations division.
Yes.
And they are chartered by Section 31 of the Federation Charter, which allows and actually commands that kind of a division to exist.
Okay, so now we can go ahead and move on from that topic and keep this podcast rolling.
Just an addendum to that, I don't think it's that Section 31 allows it for it to exist. They interpret it as such.
Yeah, it says that there could be extraordinary measures taken in unforeseen times. But the thing of it is, and it's another reason why it would have been good, a group of people or an organization like that is not going to come into existence and then allow itself to cease to exist.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of people that would be in it. You're never going to get rid of it. Welcome to the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move off that topic now. I'm glad that you guys are opinionated about it, but
I had a lot of notes. I had a lot of notes about this episode. I'm just going to kind of burn through some of these real quick. The new badges. These new badges are a communicator, a tricorder, and a personal transport. What did you guys think of those?
I think they should have took it away from
also a pad and a database.
Speak one at a time, please. Jim.
I think that other than trying to pull the pretty boy cute robot routine with the lizard on Discovery with that badge, I think it's really neat.
Hey, Jen.
I was getting annoyed. At that. This is the hydroponics. Sorry.
Yeah, that was mildly amusing the first time, and by the second time it happened, I was kind of rolling my eyes, and by the third time, I'm like, now I know why I hate this episode.
I laughed every time. That's
the thing. It was the Star Trek 3 of episodes. It was one big show. Star Trek 4. I'm sorry.
The last time that it occurred, I actually yelped because I wasn't expecting it. And it spooked me, and I was just like, I really hate that lizard, and I'm pretty sure now everyone hates, everyone hates him now.
Wouldn't somebody on the ship be doing that? Like, forget about walking to the mess hall. I'm gonna teleport there.
To the bathroom, to my room, like everywhere. That guy is just sitting there hitting that badge, like new badge.
That would have been funny if somebody was like asleep in bed and suddenly appeared on the floor of the bridge. How'd that happen? Now, that would have been funny.
Okay,
or been in the bathroom and then all of a sudden, poof, and they're peeing on a tricorder or something. Wait a minute.
Well, we checked off Linus on my list because he was actually the first thing right after the badges. The next thing that I really enjoyed in this episode was Stamets and Adira connecting. As he's sitting there talking to Adira, my kid watched this episode with me, and I love that my kid likes Star Trek. That's just, and I turned to my kid and I said, "Wow, we're gonna find out that Stamets he feels so close to Adira because they both lost this person they both lost someone to death, and that person came back in some way. Stamets got Dr. Culver back physically, and Adira got Gray back through, as her imaginary friend. ... Yeah, well, I mean, I fully expect that by the end of this season, they'll have some sort of a way for him to actually appear to other people. Some version of the mobile emitter. But I would love to see that, maybe.
Well, I mean, Voyager called it out. The mobile emitter was invented in the 29th century.
Pretty close, yeah. Programmable matter. Am I the only one that thinks that this programmable matter is just a little bit too much like magic? It's going to be. I feel like that's going to be like Superman's powers. It's going to be too powerful, and they're going to have to be constantly writing in ways that the programmable matter can't do something that it did in another scene.
I don't know that they're going to do that, but I know that I have seen that idea somewhere else. I can't remember where I saw it, but I know I've seen that before.
Oh, and absolutely, I have too, and I've even used it in my own writing.
Okay, is this akin to the opening scene of the first episode where the dude's bed goes down, like kind of falls apart into the floor?
Yes.
And forms a desk. Okay, you know what that screams of? It screams of Deus Ex, the game, where nanomachines were being used, or in the sequel, nanomachines are being used to create everything. They're not really intelligent, even at scale. They're quite dumb. They can't do complex things. But you tie enough of them together, you can build damn near anything.
The recently canceled show, Altered Carbon. The AI hotel that the main character shows up in at first. That whole hotel apparently is all programmable matter.
Yeah, it's just all nanites.
Is it? I thought it was.
All it was.
I thought it was a conventional building that had holographic emitters scattered through it.
There
In
was
the second season, they go
combination of
to
things.
a different hotel, and he brings the AI in, and the hotel just looked like junk.
Mm-hmm.
And then, bang! It now looks almost, but not quite, like the first hotel in the first season.
What did you guys think of the detaching the warp nacelles?
That's so stupid.
Dumb idea.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Like,
You haven't
we had
seen
a
that
power
episode.
failure. We had a power failure. It fluctuated for a second when we got shot at. Shit, there go the engines. Damn it.
Exactly. The engines kept going at warp 9, and we're sitting here in space, Captain. Yeah, so they actually called this out. I mean, it was in the captain's log at the beginning. Yeah, we have detached the warp nacelles to increase performance and maneuverability. So you're watching the forgetting about that for a second. One of the things I said previously, the episode Welcome to Earth episode, when that weapons fire disabled Discovery in one shot, I said that ship's got to get a refit. If that ship doesn't get refit, it's going to be trashed trying to handle this new galaxy. And of course, that's what they did at the beginning of this episode. Was they spent time refitting the ship and
retrofitting the Discovery.
Yeah. But of course, moving everything around so Stamets can't find his intermix chamber and whatever what's going on.
You mean they're going to start screwing around with the ship and moving things around on a ship that was custom built for the Magic Mushroom Drive?
Exactly.
And somehow, and there was a scene where Adira tells Stamets that she installed new telepathic gel for the mushroom drive. I'm sitting here going, how could Adira have done this without him? They would have had to work very closely together to have made that happen. But again, I feel like that's a little bit of a failure in the writer's room. But it was done. It was presented in that way to get through the exposition quickly.
Yeah, it's presented that way, but also they've made note that she's done things that other people couldn't figure out for a very long time.
Because she's brilliant.
Because she's brilliant. She is a genius because she's lived, what, seven lifetimes?
Well,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I gather that she was a genius before they stuck the slug in her.
She was intelligent before they stuck the slug in her. She had some of the knowledge before they awoke her, and she's still tapping into all that. And even without him there, it may have been, at worst case scenario, I think it would have been funny if he'd stuck his hands in it, going, "Okay, it's now all over me, but what's it supposed to do?" That would have been hilarious. And then, we have to fix this problem. That would have been cute because it would have had a little bit more of a connection. And Peanut Gorilla, Star Trek is well known to create all this stuff from nowhere. For reference, the Voyager and the limitless supplies.
Yeah. Sure. How many photon torpedoes did Voyager shoot out? And it turned out to be an order of magnitude more than they actually carried.
Right.
And how many shuttlecraft did they destroy?
Well, to be fair, they were able to build the Delta Flyer, a Warp 9 shuttle, from scratch. So obviously they had manufacturing capacity on board.
Well, they also had a lot of the parts already. So.
Right.
So I know that you had a lot of topics that you wanted to touch base on for this episode, but we also have another
series to talk about.
There's a
hello, Pumpkin. Push it. Just flip it over to heat. It's a heat pump. It's a heater. That machine is a heater. Bring the remote in and I'll show you. Just go get it. It's. I don't remember which button it is, and I want to say it's the one in the middle, but I could be wrong.
Push the one in the middle.
You gotta push it twice, if I recall.
Did it twice.
I'll have to go out there and check on the LSH in a minute.
Yep. Peanut Gorilla, that was not a ghost. That was his larvae.
I try to end this with predictions. So that's my larval stage human. Yes. I try to end this with predictions, and we obviously need a new number one. We need a new first officer. Anybody got any predictions on that topic?
Tilly.
Yeah,
Tilly.
I'm thinking. Yeah.
I don't think she could be a commander up yet. First of all, she's only an ensign, and you got to follow the chain of command. But
Tell it to Wesley Crusher.
Tell that to the emergency command hologram.
Yeah, no kidding.
I actually have. Go ahead,
Strange land, baby. She can be first officer.
Judd. What do you think?
Tilly.
I was thinking about this myself, and my first candidate would have been Lieutenant Tilson, the woman that was put in charge of the bridge more than once during the last couple of episodes. But as I'm thinking about it, somebody mentioned with a Facebook group that they might put someone in from the starbase, and suddenly it occurred to me that lady that was giving them the introduction to the holo badges. I'm thinking
Security
she
officer?
is prime candidate for
That
second
might
in
not be
command.
bad. Yeah,
Because
that might not be bad.
that puts a modern Federation character on the ship, which is something they desperately need. They need local knowledge, and that gives them local knowledge, because Adira doesn't have it. She was on a colony ship all of her life, so that gives them local knowledge. But she's still second in command, which means that she doesn't have to worry about learning all the ship's systems, like if they were to replace, say, the engineers with modern Starfleet personnel. I'm sure we'll know next week when they go to to Vulcan?
I cannot
looks
wait
like it.
for that episode.
Yeah.
Oh God, Vulcan 1,000 years in the future. That's gonna be interesting.
People have been talking about this as reunification part 3. And I really like that 2-parter reunification where they made contact with the Romulan Empire. And I'm really hoping we're doing some more of that. I am really looking forward to it.
I really want to see things settled between the Romulans and the Vulcans.
And boy,
Peanut Gorilla had a comment. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Wouldn't it be a great place to drop off Michael? Hey, it's the people.
Live long and prosper.
Bye, Felicia.
Peanut, you said he doesn't seem concerned that it wasn't a ghost. Oh, so you're talking about when Stamets and Adira were talking, and he was just kind of chill about.
No, your larval stage human.
Yeah, your
Chill.
larval stage human situation. That
he
was in
doesn't
comment
seem
to that.
concerned, so that. Oh, you're talking about the person in the background.
She was wearing black, and it looked like it was a ghost.
Right. I'm gonna go quick check on her. You guys can kick off the Mandalorian chat.
Would you mind
Chill, take off.
the next
I'll be
slide?
right back. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I put this backwards, by the way. This is actually
Most
this week's
recent.
episode of The Mandalorian. Has anybody seen it yet? Other than me?
Yes,
Judd?
yes.
Of
I
course
watched it
have.
just before we started.
Okay, good. So we can actually talk about it. I'll be right back.
Cute. Mike. Okay, so we are back.
So a little.
And Peanut Gorilla, I adore you. I hope you know that. I love the fact that you're always here. You definitely make podcast night and everything else I stream amazing, just because you're just one of the best viewers. You really are, and I adore you. I hope you know that. I just appreciate you so much. And if anyone wonders why I'm saying this, Peanut Gorilla commented, I have not seen either of these shows, so you guys are how I get my information.
Oh man.
And that, I mean, I understand, because not everyone can afford to constantly go back and forth with CBS Access and Disney Plus and back and forth. So I completely understand that, and I'm so glad that you choose us. Gotta support Bunny and the boys. Hell yeah. And we appreciate you 100%.
Oh, and Peanut. Anybody else that happens to be watching, we have launched a YouTube channel. We're going to start. Go ahead.
Tom,
Yeah.
before you say anything else, in one of our podcast discussion things on the Discord, there is an entire chart of commands that you can now use in Twitch, including commands for Starport Omega YouTube, Starport Omega Twitter, and all the other ones that you've added.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have access to Twitch. I mean, I'm looking at Twitch on my iPad, but
No. Discord.
Yeah.
But yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. It's on the. I posted the link on the Discord. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
it's
Judd's
just-
like, I see it. Judd, go. You want to do all the links?
Yeah, I can't get
totally
to
do
that.
all of
I
them.
can't get to that screen right now.
But
there it is.
So this is what I'm talking about, everybody. I've added a ton of commands. So there it is.
There it is.
For everyone to see, and it's a complete, like, beauty.
So the long and short of it is, we're going to start adding little mini-sodes, tutorials, things like that. I'm working on a series of tech tutorials for audio and video production. Bunny had a problem with Audacity last week, so we solved that, well, sort of live. I went through and did a live install of the... Go ahead.
So I had an issue with Audacity, and then I had an issue with the tutorial that is recommended by Audacity.
Oh, wow.
I had an issue with the tutorial.
The tutorial even. Wait, so that
And it's
YouTube
just
video
like-
you showed me was an official...
Recommended. It was recommended by Audacity. The people that put Audacity out recommended this on their wiki. They recommended this.
I'm going to the wiki and fixing that. I'm gonna go update that.
It's just like that was I love the fact that this person put that much effort into it, and I managed to get it to work. But at the same time, it took me almost all day to fix a problem that should have been fixed in 15 minutes if the person had just slowed down and taken their time.
Yeah. That video actually runs less than 5 minutes. Roughly 5 minutes. That'll tell you how long it actually takes to fix the problem.
Sorry for the rant. I got completely stressed out because this issue in Audacity took up me editing. Like, I haven't gotten last time's podcast up because this issue compromised all my editing.
Now you have Movie Maker Platinum, right? Doesn't that?
I have, Movie Maker 16 Platinum. It does not allow you to fix audio in it. It's got like a bunch of additions and stuff that you could get.
Well, I was wondering if you have tried using SoundForge, because SoundForge comes with that.
The issue with SoundForge is basically having the time set aside to learn it.
Oh, okay.
And all the different key commands. Audacity, I had been using. Oh gosh. Hold on. Here, let me draw a blank real quick. So long, I can't remember.
Yeah.
There we go.
So a little backstory. A little backstory before we get back on track. The larval stage human. When we moved into this house, one of the promises I made to the larval stage human was that they'd get their own area to hang out, and we set that up in the garage, in the shop area behind the garage. But it's cold tonight. It's according to it's 54 degrees outside, so this is the first time we've run the heater out there, and she couldn't figure out how to run the heater on the heat pump out there. So we got that straightened out.
So I'm looking at Peanut Gorilla's comment. Let me. Can anyone else see the links that are posting with the commands?
I can see them.
Okay, I'm going to try hitting the command again.
Which link?
I see a Starport Omega YouTube channel.
Oh.
I see the command links. Just can't see where to find the commands you mentioned. Oh, they're on a different Discord. They're on the Starport Omega Discord.
Yeah, those are commands.
They're looking for the command. So this is what I have in commands for the command thing right now, but I need to update that, and because I have like 15 or 20 right now, it's going to take a moment. I will be making a command, basically a screenshot that I will link somewhere on this Twitch, so it is easier for everyone to access. But not all commands are user friendly. So you'd have to be a mod or someone else or a certain person in order to use the command. Some of the commands, not all of them. Streamlabs is very interesting to deal with on updating commands because you actually have to go to a web browser and you cannot be in stream to edit them a lot of the time. So, anyways, off that topic, I am so sorry for the confusion. It was basically me talking to the guys in the podcast, referencing our little area that we talk about the podcast outside of public view.
Executive lounge.
Yeah, I did not mean to cause confusion. I'm so sorry, Gorilla. Okay.
We do need a way for people to give us feedback and ask questions. That was what I was originally hoping to do with the Reddit page, but we've already had like 2 people that are like, I refuse to use Reddit. So maybe we need a better access channel for that. But that maybe is a conversation we can have outside of.
Please don't make me go on Curious Cat. I don't.
Yeah, that was
Instagram?
mostly a joke.
Oh, so I did reserve us the Facebook. I did reserve Starport Omega on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. What I want to do is give all of you guys the keys to those so you can actually log in and upload videos and respond to comments and stuff like that. We'll do that. We'll do that later in the week when we're not live on the air here.
and Judd, I actually have I've got commands for those as well. If you wouldn't mind typing those up real quick, in chat. On top of that, in my chat, I should make a channel exclusively to the Starport Omega podcast in my Discord.
There you go. And we can direct people over
everywhere but Facebook. I am so with you there on that, Gorilla. I'm so with you on that one. Okay. Anyways, we should get back on topic. And sorry about that. We're very distracted. We are like group ADD here, so you'll have to forgive us.
I think all of us have a little bit of ADD in us, and that just makes it
a little.
Group.
Hey.
Actually, Jim's cat probably has the longest attention span out of all of us.
Probably. I know that I am severely ADHD, and I maintain it well. Anyways, back on topic.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Star Wars: The Mandalorian. Well, we know Brad's been enjoying it.
Damn straight.
Okay, so the latest episode was The Siege, which is a misnomer because they didn't actually besiege anything. They destroyed a Imperial base, discovered something insidious going on, and as usual, Baby Yoda, the true star of the show. I don't know why they're not calling it Baby Yoda and his Mandalorian assistant. Had some brilliant moments this episode.
There's a really interesting argument about that, actually.
Come here. Come on.
We all call the child Baby Yoda. In the merchandise, it's called the child.
That is his actual name, is the child.
But in the actual series, they don't refer to him as the child. Actually, we don't know whether it's male or female. I don't know what.
He is alternately referred to as the child, kid, and hey you. Generally, Mando will say kid when he's talking to him. They will say the kid or the child when they're referring to him in the third person. And a lot of times Mando will be like, hey, because, there's only one other person in the ship.
Well, let's not forget the little incident with the repairs that that was by far and away one of the funniest things I've seen.
Hold up. We are way off course. We have 3 episodes to go over on The Mandalorian, and the first one starts with spiders.
Okay, so let's talk about spiders.
Hold up. But if anyone's curious of what the child is, let's see if I can.
Refugee from Colonel Sanders.
I actually got the new poster in reference to the child. So let me just stand up real quick and grab that without pulling my head off my head and hurting my ears.
Yeah, let's not do that again.
I pulled my headphones out. Anyway, so now I can't hear the guys. So let me... The child. And it's got a plastic projector on it still, but that is okay. So I won't be able to hear anyone for just a moment, and I'll tab over to Tom. So, the child.
If that worked, then we should be
The endearing one.
That did not work.
Okay,
it's
sorry about that.
Didn't get put into the tab for.
Okay. Now I can hear again. Yay! Okay. So,
it won't dock. That's what's going on. It won't dock because it's not right. Trying to get this tab I'm trying to get
I
this tab
don't
to dock
think
with my
anyone
active.
with internet access is not familiar with the child in question. Not true. My father has internet access, and I was so happy about a nightgown I got. I sent him a picture of it, and he said, "What the fuck did they do to Yoda?"
I'm down with your dad. Quite honestly.
And the thing is, I couldn't say anything because I was just like, "Oh, okay." So my dad absolutely had no idea that this series was even running, which surprised me because my dad was like the one that would be like, "Okay, that's it. Come here. Let's take your eyelids open because they've dropped this, and I know it's like, midnight, but we're gonna get you out of bed, take you to a movie theater, and sit you down. And if you fall asleep, I'm gonna shake you. You need to see these movies." Like that was my dad's thing when Star Wars was happening.
So, Baby Yoda is probably the most hazardous thing in the galaxy at the moment.
Oh yes.
We all
real
see
quick.
him. We all see him as a little child, an infant. But let's get something straight. The dude's 50 years old, and he will put anything in his mouth.
So, real quick.
Including live animals.
Real quick. Spoiler alert are continuing, and some of it is just, the child is not politically correct. You will have to remember that as he devours someone's
He is a child.
potential children. Yeah. The thing is, like, the child, though, like, when you put him in the school, it's like he has some inkling of what's going on, but it's like you put him in a classroom of 8-year-olds when he needs to be in pre-K.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's continue. Let us continue. I'm so sorry. I had to. I could not just, yeah.
So the entire crisis in this episode was caused by the fact that this little kid is a carnivore in the most literal sense, and went out and munched on some mama spider's baby.
Baby Yoda is the apex predator.
He is absolutely.
Real
It's
quick.
like, this looks tasty. I'm gonna eat it.
Real quick. He is an endless pit of hunger, which is true for most developing kids. If anyone ever has to deal with children, babysit kids, know they can eat you out of house and home, and suddenly when you go in, you buy things in bulk, and you're like, what happened to all the sodas, Pop-Tarts, animal crackers, and bread? And a child will like, oh, I was hungry after school. So you ate it all? Yes.
This has happened.
Little larvae will eat them all.
In the words of my father, I'd rather clothe him than feed him.
So yes, and they're putting this in there in the most humorous way. I still need to get a little frog stuffed animal. So, like when I say little, I mean about. Hold on, me. I want a frog stuffed animal about the size of my phone, and I don't care if it's a dog toy or a cat toy or whatever. It's just for memory's sake.
I swear, if they put out a Baby Yoda doll with like one of the frog legs sticking out from season 1, I'm buying it.
They actually have a crap. What are they called? The little plastic doodads. No, it's a little. They have that, but it's little plastic doodads that are collectibles.
What? Funko Pops?
Yes, they have a Funko Pop with the child with 2 frog legs sticking out of his mouth. It's so fucking cute.
I might actually have to buy a Funko Pop. I don't get them.
To misquote a certain comic animated character, why is this show all about things that are coming into or going out of his mouth?
Okay, so the spider episode. Let me. They are not actually spiders. They actually creep me out on a level above spiders because I don't have to be allergic to these ones to die. And the thing is, as soon as I saw, little, egg stacks all over the place, I knew something was going to happen.
We all knew
with
exactly
spiders.
what was going to happen.
Then
the
when
next
they started,
2 to 3 minutes of video was we predicted before it even happened.
Yeah, and I do have arachnophobia. I'm definitely allergic to insects biting me. So biting or stinging, I don't like EpiPen. So I have an inherent fear of these creatures, even though some of them are really cool. Like jumping spiders, they're adorable. Daddy longlegs, they're adorable. Daddy longlegs can't actually break my skin. They're cool.
Tell you what, that proboscis though, it's all like.
Yeah. So when I first saw this, and I thought we were going to be talking about this last podcast, but everyone else had kind of not seen it or hadn't gotten around to it. I was upset with everyone on the podcast for not warning me about the spiders because I thought everyone else had seen it. So I was just like, I cannot believe you guys didn't warn me about that because, I was the person in Skyrim that took me 2 weeks to get past that spider entry. That is one of the first freaking missions because.
Oh, the barrow. What's the name of it? I can't remember the name of it either.
Bleak Falls Barrow.
Bleak Falls Barrow, yeah, because all the spiders at the beginning.
I have no memory retention, but I was traumatized.
Yeah, I get blocks like that too, where I won't do a mission in a game because I'm freaked out over whatever, and then I'll finally do it, and I'll be like, "Why was I so worried?"
The thing is, if I go back and I play through it, I'm still going to have the heebie-fucking-jeebies of the umpteenth degree. And that's just me as a person, and I'm gonna get back to the podcast now because I'm creeping myself out. So let's talk about the spider episode, everybody.
I feel like there's as much as happened in that episode. It's at the same time, there's not a lot of story progression.
Okay, so let's talk about Fish Lady and her ability to manipulate cables, cords to make a communication device.
That was cool, crap. Wasn't it? When the Frog Lady basically turned the robot into a translator.
Yeah, and
that was some Scotty level magic right there.
And it's her entire personality changed. She's like, okay, that's it. We need to talk.
Yeah. Oh, and that may be the first time that we saw that Mando just really give up.
Yeah, Judd.
Well, my only problem with that was I thought I was missing an episode or an entire scene or something because we have this blip right at the beginning of the episode, or I think it was the beginning of the episode, of the robot attacking on the Razor Crest and getting shot. And that was it. Okay, am I missing something? There's an episode I'm missing?
You actually may have missed it. That was the jailbreak episode from the first season, and that was actually referred to in 3 different ways in this episode. Because the starfighters, that was why they chased Mando, was because he was involved in that jailbreak.
I completely forgot about that.
And then the robot was still on board, so he didn't toss the robot out with the trash. He kept it for scrap, I guess. And then
I forgot about that.
And then at the very end, if you recall, the reason the pilots were like, "We're going to let you go," is because of his actions during the jailbreak. Go ahead, Bunny.
I wasn't the one that forgot something from last week. and for anyone that's watching, and that's a proud moment for me because I have severe memory retention issues due to brain damage. So I'm so proud of myself for that. Thank you, Judd, for giving me that heightened self-worth right there.
I'm just so used to the series so far being they have an overall plot line that kind of weaves itself in and out. But
yeah,
for the most part, it's entirely episodic. They're almost standalone episodes that don't really have a huge amount to do with anything else. Though season 2 is starting to get more into that. Get away from that, I should say.
The that episode was The Prisoner? That was chapter 6.
I remember it. I just don't really remember the droid getting destroyed. I should rewatch that then.
Yeah,
probably a good idea.
You know what? It's worth rewatching if nothing else for the Twi'lek, because I mean the Twi'leks are the sexiest race in Star Wars, and that woman and this is not me being a 13-year-old. That woman was both sexy and scary at the same time.
Okay, would you mind pulling up a reference image for that woman versus saying that woman?
Sure. I don't remember her name. That's the problem. Let me I'll look this up while you guys continue the talking.
Okay. So if we consider a lot of the things that happened, I'm going to go back to the spider episode. The frog woman has no sense of danger. She is on an alien planet, and all she thinks is, and I get it, she's cold-blooded. I need to be warm. I'm going to go sit in what is basically a hot spring that she has no idea the origin of the water. She has no idea if this water could somehow kill her eggs. She doesn't know if it's water, but she sees warm and liquid and goes in it.
I think it's more than that. I think that she was on the verge of shutting down because she's cold-blooded.
Yeah.
And I think she was on the verge of dying if she didn't get some heat.
Yeah, but it didn't seem that way. They didn't make a drastic change in her personality of like, oh, she's getting lethargic, and she was just kind of like la-di-da about it. That's the issue I took with it. And for someone that's had, I've actually had a number of amphibians and lizards throughout my entire life. It's something that if they would have actually taken the time to add in the cold-blooded factors that occur when those creatures do not get the required heat and light, what they need, it would have made more sense. And by the way,
10 more seconds of exposition would have been really useful. Yes.
So Tom's pulled up the image.
So like I said, the actress that plays her is gorgeous, by the way. But this woman is both sexy and super scary at the same time. Super scary because of her attitude and her skills, yet also she's a Twi'lek. And I think that out of the
green-skinned women of the Star Wars universe.
Yes, and in this episode, I think she was definitely one of the shining stars of the episode because she did such a good job of playing this exotic character. It's like the guy that played the thug. We've seen 100,000 thugs in movies, but we don't see these. We don't see these super dangerous, super sexy women very often.
Outside of Bond.
Outside of James Bond, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, yeah, because it fits.
I get that you find the almost like dominatrix type women attractive. But I have to say, like, one thing to this series. Thank you for making Cara Dune not a twig. Because, I mean, seriously, I could not imagine an itty bitty skinny little thing being as tough as this character is. And they don't hide it. She is as Judd likes to say, she is a thicker woman.
Thick, yeah.
Cara Dune, that's the character played by Gina Carano, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think one of the reasons why she got that role is the fact that she was a former MMA fighter, and she has that kind of build for, that anyone that goes through combat training is going to end up getting that heavily. Like, she doesn't look, like you said, very skinny. She doesn't have that pretty muscle. She has the kind of muscle that's going to screw someone up in a fight.
Yeah, she's an athlete. She was an MMA fighter. She comes by she came by her everything she did in that show. She came by naturally.
And this is an older
yes,
picture
that's a shot from probably
of her
several years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but, I think that was about a decade ago.
And that is not her.
Gina Carano?
Yeah.
No, that is her. That's her at her weigh-in for yeah. That was her at her weigh-in for one of the.
No. You missed.
There was a shot.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong bloody screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm not watching the live. I'm watching your chat. So of course
Oh,
I'm getting
yeah.
things screwy here.
So I'm just flipping through the Google images trying to get a reference for who she is. This is a good shot right here. I agree with you. One of the thing I got to give Jon Favreau props. I'm like developing a serious man crush on Happy, because every time he makes a choice in this series, it's exactly the right choice to make. And what he has not done so far, he has not made any of the women in this series sex objects. We have not had a Leia. We have not had a Princess Leia in the metal bikini moment, and I am so grateful for that. And Cara Dune is a perfect example of that. This is a badass chick who gets in there and tangles up with the boys and owns it. And not just because they make her character do it, like in Xena the Warrior Princess, the Amazon women were all these little skinny models. No way could that have been reality. This woman here, we would look at her and go, yeah, that could be an Amazon, because she gets out there and physically does it. She does the work.
Not to mention the fact that she, because of her background, she's probably doing a lot of these stunts herself, which adds a lot of depth and realism to the fight scenes.
She is not by any means average, but she's more realistic. And I say that because she is a taller woman. She is a more robust woman. She's more muscular, and it fits the character well. Her actress is 5'8", and they don't hide her height. They don't try to put taller people around her to make her look more feminine, which is actually a thing in a lot of series. Is they'll actually put, they'll actually make the actress look smaller than she is.
5'8", yeah, you're right. She's pretty tall. I mean, for a woman, 5'8" is on the taller side.
I am of average height. I am actually the U.S. standard of average for height. I am 5'4".
That's the average? I thought it was 5'6".
That, as of last year, as far as I knew, that was the average height in the U.S. for women.
There it is.
I'm looking at
Holy crap.
When I had my knee surgery, they said, well, you went from being below average to average. And I was like, yay.
And the average weight is 170.
I'm below average there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the average size is like, it went from like a 10 to a 12, I believe. Because with that height and weight, you'd be pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. People in general in the U.S. are getting more robust, let's just say.
Yeah. So on top of that, she's not some young thing either.
And again,
she's a seasoned actress. She is a seasoned fighter. They put her in a militaristic role, and she can back it up.
Well, she is what, 30? I was just looking at her.
33?
No, she's a year or so younger than me, so she should be about 35, 36.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. I'm trying to reopen that tab.
She was born in 82.
Oh, wait. She's a year older? Wow.
Okay, let's try this again. Gina Carano is 38 years old. So let's work backwards for a minute. This takes place 5 years after the Battle of Endor, and I believe the Battle of Endor takes place 8 years after the Battle of Yavin. So we're talking 13 years. Luke and Leia were approximately 20 years old in the events of A New Hope, Episode 4, the Battle of Yavin. So 13. If we back up 13 from 38, we're talking 25 between. Yeah. So the actress is actually the right age to portray a person that was active during the rebellion. So all around, they did a good job of casting her. That, by the way, is one thing that bugged me about Katie Sackhoff, which we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. She's too young for the part that she portrayed in the last episode, the last episode to air.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the second episode for this week's discussion.
Okay, so we already know that Baby Yoda's a menace, and
oh, good lord, him sneaking those friggin' eggs. Okay, We're moving on to the next episode. But the end of that last episode, where he just pulls out that last egg, and it's like, you sneaky little. Like, where the hell did he hide that?
I know, right? Okay, so the next episode takes place on Trask. We get Frog Lady and Frog. We got Frog Lady to Frog Hubby, and those two were very happy to see each other. I loved seeing the couple reunited in that moment of, hey. And of course, Mando's ship was trashed. That thing looked like it belonged in a junkyard. And
the Mon Calamari look as it's landing. He just watches it land and watches it fall in the water, and then just kind of like shakes his head and walks off. It's like,
so the salient points of the episode. They make it to Trask. The ship is totaled. It should be thrown in the junkyard, but he gets on a boat to go find other Mandalorians, which is a trap. The Squid King that was running the boat tries to kill Mando and take his armor. We see this over and over, by the way. We've seen this 3 times now in the series where that his armor is so valuable that people try to kill him just to steal his armor from him. And then he meets 3 Mandalorians who, as it turns out, are very happy to be taking their helmets off whenever. And they save his life, and at the end of the episode, he moves on his journey looking for Ahsoka Tano, who we haven't met yet. So, thoughts?
Okay, so I'm going to reach out and say something, and I don't know if it's going to offend any Star Wars fans or anything else. So I'm going to look away from the image that we were just talking about. So we lost the slideshow for a second, but anyways, in reference to the Mandalorians that appear in this episode and Mando and the way he was basically brought up. Let me make something clear. The way Mando was brought up is referred to almost as a cult in this episode. And if you look back in Star Wars history, the reason why they started the not take your helmet off, not let your face be seen, is in reference to an equality that the Mandalorians share. When the war that's mentioned in this episode occurs, and she mentions she's the last of her line. The reason why these Mandalorians take off their helmet is because they have more claim to being a Mandalorian, because by genetics and where they came from, they are, quote unquote, the Mandalorians. And it shows in this episode, and there was a level of arrogance and just, she all 3 of them, they're better because they are not people that were saved by Mandalorians and taught the way.
To be clear, Bo-Katan is literal royalty. She is actually the daughter of a ruler, one of the previous rulers of the Mandalore people. She has the best claim to the throne of anyone in the galaxy at this point in time. So she's not, this is not someone who's just out there going, I'm gonna get the Darksaber and I'm gonna become the king. She literally is heir to the throne.
And the person he's referencing is this one here in the center.
Yeah, that's the character with the red hair, played by Katie Sackhoff, is Bo-Katan. She was in the Clone Wars, the animated series. A very different looking character in the Clone Wars, but still, they've done a good job of recreating her on Katie here. And that character was, I believe, the daughter of the leader of the Mandalorian people at the time. And she is the cousin of the character the person that we believe is Obi-Wan Kenobi's love child with Satine, who was the ruler of Mandalore during this period, during the Clone Wars.
You are aware she's also the voice actress for Bo-Katan, right?
She was the voice actress for Bo-Katan, yes.
and
Judd?
she does from what I've seen, because I've not seen any of the cartoon series. But from the little clips I've seen, the animated character really does look like Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah. The
as much as they can in that style.
Well, yeah, that style was really, really what's the word? Stylized. If you guys are watching this show, you have the ability to watch the Clone Wars, because all the Clone Wars is now on Disney Plus. You also have the ability to watch Rebels. What I would strongly suggest doing is going and finding the Mandalore-related episodes in the Clone Wars and watching all of them in order, then watching the episodes of Rebels that deal with Mandalore and with Sabine and Sabine in particular. There is a lot to unpack in Mandalorian history, and almost all of it is in those two animated series. At least the canon is in those two animated series, the Clone Wars and in Rebels. I think Clone Wars probably a little bit more than Rebels, but there's a huge amount of stuff that happens in Rebels, which Rebels takes place in the in the year before the Battle of Yavin, if I recall.
Okay.
So I think
about there.
I think excellent portrayal by Katie Sackhoff. She does a great job of playing this kind of arrogant, as you said, and truth, honestly, rightfully said, this arrogant cast-off person who is doing everything she can to reclaim her place in history.
Yeah.
To be fit, well, in the original extended universe, the Mandalorians were known for being quite arrogant when you got into the aristocracy area.
They were the only people that could give the Jedi a run for their money in a fair fight.
Well, that's just because Beskar is immune to lightsabers.
Beskar, all the little tricks, the singing canaries and the grappling hooks and the flamethrower, all of that was specifically built to fight Jedi.
Yeah. So, I'm going to say this. She treated Mando like a country bumpkin.
She did. She very much did. She was still willing to give him respect, though. And I think that by the end of the episode, they all had, more respect for each other than they did at the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. So, does anyone else have anything else to say about this part of the episode?
Yeah, to give some context to Mandalorians, they're, as we all know, very prideful. They're pretty much the definition of pride in the Star Wars universe. Nothing gets any more proud than a Mandalorian in full kit. However, they were also unique in the fact that regardless of where you came from or what your genetics were, if you could kick the crap out of a higher ranking Mandalorian, you were given that level of respect for being able to do so. They were very respectful of those that had proven themselves, which is why they tended the pride that you tend to see in the beginning shifts slowly away to that kind of respect, because look what Mando did compared to them. They were stuck behind a pair of pillars and couldn't do jack. He walks out there and risks his own life to toss a couple of grenades. That is not something that would be easily done by someone who is weak. That takes a lot of will, and that takes kind of a bit of a death wish.
Yeah.
Interesting note. Gina Carano, of course, was an MMA fighter before she turned to acting. The lady on the left in this image is also she's a WWE wrestler. So we have another person who whether or not pro wrestlers are truly athletes or not, they definitely are in good physical condition and they do their own stunts, literally. We're seeing casting of actual athletes as mercenaries, which I again am really enjoying, seeing people that are not just pretty, that people that can actually throw a punch.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the one that challenged Gina Carano to a fight. It said she would wipe the floor with her.
I don't know.
Okay, so let's knock it off on that topic and let's move on, because we've got a lot more to cover in this podcast.
Yes, we do.
So they come to the current episode, which premiered today, The Siege. the very short synopsis of the siege is Mando stops off at one of his previous stops. He runs into Cara Dune again, and I cannot remember the name of the guy that's basically the mayor of this town. And he asks for help with his ship. They're like, "I'll tell you what. While we're fixing your ship, why don't you go help us with a problem? You help me, I'll help you." And they take out an Imperial base, which turns out to be filled with cloning tanks. And evidence uncovered at the scene leads Mando to discover the fact that little baby Yoda's blood was being used to try to infuse these clones with force powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to bootstrap some dark troopers. Now, whether that's what they're going to keep from the original extended universe or not, I don't know. But this is basically the equivalent of dark troopers in older Star Wars, where you have force-enabled, force-trained, and force-resistant. They're basically the Empire's shock troopers for going after Jedi. Like, they're ridiculously overbuilt, and they're strong as hell. They're trained in zero-G fighting. You can literally kick them out of a ship, and they'll be able to not only survive, but actually go after their target, unlike traditional stormtroopers.
So, Jed, what were you going to
say? Yeah, they're anti-Jedi. Not Sith, just anti-Jedi.
Okay. As soon as he decided that he's going to go back to get his ship repaired, and he lands, and I see, I can't remember the blue guy's name. I sat there and went, there's going to be a betrayal somewhere. When they pan to the two repair guys, when they're ordered to repair the ship, make it as good as new. And they pan to specifically the alien. I can't remember
the mechanics.
Yeah. There was a feeling of, okay, so what's going to go wrong? What is going to go wrong because he gets his ship repaired? And you got someone that's auditing that Mando has, frozen basically because he's been arrested and everything else. And the guy's not helping on his own accord. He's being forced to labor in order to pay off a debt, basically. So there was so much in this episode that I was sitting there just waiting for something to go wrong, and it did. Oh, we've got a cute little the force powers that were used to steal cookies.
It's like, give. No.
So
take.
Yes, they definitely telegraphed the alien, the mechanic guys working for the Empire. That was, it was painfully obvious to anyone that has one functioning eye. And so at the end of the episode, when they call the captain of that ship, and she's, I totally had no problem with that scene. Totally saw it coming as well.
Yeah.
This, keeping in track with the fact that this is the Baby Yoda and his gorgeous assistant show, I thought this scene was my favorite character building moment through the entire series so far.
I was hoping that Sugar didn't make something bad.
Oh, don't feed Baby Yoda after midnight.
Because I was sitting there going, "Oh my gosh!" Because it doesn't actually ever show him eating anything that contains sugar. And if anyone knows what those cookies are, they are nothing but sugar.
They're just frosting with cookie center. Yeah, they're the opposite of an Oreo. So here's the thing: he turns to the kid sitting next to him. He's all, can I have some? And the kid's like, no. And I watching him with his hand held out, it occurred to me that basically he has, obviously man has been telling him no a lot, right? But at the same time, babies expect everything to be given to them. They ask, they get. That's the contract.
They depend on others
when you're an infant toddler. And I knew that was coming. Yet it still cracked me up when the kid turns to him and he's eating the cookies. And then at the very and then at the very end, when he's sitting in his car seat in the ship, The cookie's still in his hand.
After the ship scene and all the barrel rolls and, the high-speed turning and flips, and then Baby Yoda spits up on himself, and Mando does the dab thing. He takes part of his own clothing to dab up the spittle. That tells you just how much Mando actually cares for the child. He doesn't understand what the child is. He doesn't understand. He understands that there's an importance the child serves, but at the same time, Mando has made a child-parent connection with the child, and is reacting with natural instincts. And I absolutely adore this. And the thing is, other people in the series, you show that they have that same, okay, it's a baby. Because as soon as Mando gets off the ship, what's the first thing that is? Oh, can he hear you? Has he been taking good care of, it's the baby talk. It's the, oh yeah, he said yes, he can't even talk yet, and it's shown just how much care there is and how much this little creature right here can influence people to do things that they may not do, like the mechanic that usually fixes his ship.
The lady on Tatooine, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
don't
she's totally.
leave him with me.
She totally becomes maternal when.
Yeah, and that's something that children do. Even when you don't like kids, that's something children can do when the children then depend on you. Even if we have bus drivers all the time that in large cities, if they come across a kid and it's like, okay, this kid's out of place, they find a missing kid, and they'll wrap the kid up in their jacket and they'll take care of them, until the police arrive. And it's they want to make sure it's our instinct to take care of those who can't take care of themselves. It really is, and a lot of it pertains to how cute and freaking adorable kids can be, much like many of us cat owners or dog owners. If they weren't so cute and adorable in their own freakishly annoying ways, we wouldn't have pets.
We'd kill them.
We kill them and eat them. And that goes for any animal. And just to be honest, I'm not saying that you should kill and eat your pets. Don't do that.
Oh.
Well, we noticed that Cara Dune got herself a new best friend in this episode. In fact, someone was literally going to eat him.
Yeah. And that is like as close to a ferret as you can get, I guess, in an alien rat species. And it actually reminded me of a mink, more so than a ferret in the way it behaved.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it kind of had that dog personality. Hi.
Yeah.
Yes, now you are my best friend.
But let's not forget the interesting aspects of the parental relationship here, which is the fact that this is a Mandalorian parent. So the child's getting trusted with some stuff that is incredibly dangerous, like we were talking about earlier, the repair scene. It's like, don't touch the wires. Bad things happen if you touch the wires. He touches the wires, and I love the way they frame that. The smoke just comes out, the helmet just turns down. And he's just like, you okay? Cough, cough. By the way, props for the fact that this is not a CGI character. They're using practical effects in ways that most people don't notice. That's it. This show is going to age incredibly well because of the use of a practical effect for Baby Yoda. And the fact that they've been able to push so much emotion with such limited capabilities versus a CGI character is absolutely paramount. Like, I'm trying to remember.
We need to do an episode entirely about how The Mandalorian specifically, this is the first show where this has been done, by the way, how The Mandalorian's production has churned soundstage production upside down, because the way they are doing the environments in the show is completely different than anything that's ever been done in Hollywood. And
also, can't forget that the Razor Crest is an actual model being filmed. It's not CG.
Certainly, all of these shots where they're getting in and moving around it are. So the space scenes are models as well?
Yep.
Because I was under the impression that the
They're
space
going
scenes were
old
all
school.
CG.
They're going old school. You can there's a video from Adam Savage, since he's working with his old Industrial Light buddies,
Mm-hmm.
because he worked on episode 1 and episode 2 in the model making. He's had a 45-minute video on discussing they're actually using real models for the ship scenes, and on he even linked to another video that was being produced by Disney showcasing the real models being filmed.
And not to get too far off track, but that's one of the defining characteristics of the Orville as well. The ship in the Orville, the Orville, is actually a physical model. And most of the shots you see in the show are physical model shots. And it really does, as good as CG has gotten, there is still a certain factor that shooting models seems to make a difference. And I can't even put my finger on it.
No, I can actually tell you what it is, and it's something that's bothered me ever since I first saw it. It's the light refraction. I don't care how good the material modeling is, the light refraction is never right.
Yeah, and the materials, you're right, materials processing in CG has come a long ways, but it's still not perfect.
Yeah, unless it's entirely animated, like Toy Story, in which case it's all animated. There's no difference.
It would be fun to do a deep dive into how CG and models work in movies and television, and then contrast that with this new projected soundstage system that the Mandalorian's using.
Yeah, that's.
Anyways,
so yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. I love how in depth we go and how detailed we are. And if you guys missed a little bit of earlier, we do now have a Starport Omega YouTube channel, and that is where a lot of the mention, like going into deeper things or certain audio things that we mention from time to time, where you'll be able to find a lot of that, and like the issues with audacity that we mentioned earlier and I ranted about. You'll be able to find tutorials and stuff like that on that channel, along with references and clips and stuff like that from podcast nights and other things that we will be recording in the future.
For example, Brad doesn't know this yet, but he's going to make us a video about why the ARM processor in the new Macintosh that was just announced, why that's so revolutionary as a desktop computer, and why ARM is different than the PC, the processors we've been using in our PCs for the last 20 years.
Ooh, you're gonna make me do a video on ISAs?
Don't force me. We shut you down. We shut you down last time because we didn't have the time to do it. So that you're gonna make us.
I would actually
a video for
love
the channel
to do
for that.
I would actually thoroughly enjoy doing that. I love computer instruction sets. It's one of those parts of the the science of computer science that is fascinating. That because hardware generally people think is the same.
Let's not get too off topic here, because we do need to get through quite a bit more. And all I'm seeing on Tom's stuff is a black screen.
Yeah, that's because I cleared it so we can go to the next thing when we're. So the big things that we have coming up in The Mandalorian, the thing that everyone's looking forward to is when we finally get to run into Ahsoka Tano again. So for those of you that have not watched the Clone Wars or have not watched Rebels, Ahsoka was Anakin Skywalker's trainee during most of the Clone Wars, up until the very end when she decided that the Jedi are a cult. And that is a conversation we should have next time, and let's block out time for that to discuss religion specifically in Star Wars.
Yeah.
She walked out on the Jedi, and she disappeared, and she came back in Rebels, and she disappeared again, and she's going to be coming back in The Mandalorian, My guess is we're going to see her in the tail of the end of the series, probably the last episode or 2 episodes, because the whole point of this season is to reunite the baby with the Jedi. And Ahsoka, at this point in time, aside from Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka is probably the only active Jedi that we know that's in canon right now in the New Republic.
Yeah.
Next week, we're supposed to... Do we know what's happening next week? Have we seen any previews or trailers yet?
They haven't released anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
they're really good at keeping things in the
We're kind
dark.
of in the dark
until,
on next
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
love about this show is they've done such a good job of not just keeping in the dark, but thoroughly surprising us every time that something happens.
They've even
Yeah.
kept a lid on leaking, which is amazing for something of this scale.
It goes right back to what I've been saying. This is a show made by people who love Star Wars.
Yeah,
More
they
than-
don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, it is not. This is absolutely not a money grab. This is just fans making stuff for fans.
Yeah. So let's continue on with our topics for tonight then.
All right. So, as I push the magic button, which does nothing, let's try the other magic button.
You got a whole keyboard full of them.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Actually,
oh.
I have this little guy right here. I love this guy, the Stream Deck,
So
which I just broke.
As he drops it.
So my Stream Deck gets a lot of use. I not only use
And
this
abuse,
for
apparently.
OBS, but one of my favorite uses for my Stream Deck is for my lighting. It can actually control my lights in my room. So check this out. Boom.
You're entirely too connected.
Yeah, all of that is running through the Stream Deck on the computer and then controlling my Philips Hue
So-
lamps. So,
viewers, real quick. Does anyone think that Tom should come to my place and just redo everything? He should take like a mini vacation and redo all my tech shit. Yeah?
You'd realize if he goes, the rest of us are going to end up coming
The rest of
along
us are
too,
all-
right?
you're going to end up with all of us living in your garage for like 2 weeks.
I don't
And then it's
have a
gonna turn
garage.
into an
Pinnacle
argument.
says yes. So yes. The thing is, I'm tech savvy, but I don't have like the muscles or the height to do some of the stuff that Tom's got set up in his house.
One of
Like
these days
I
we'll
have to get a ladder out. Like I've got to call someone and be like, okay, my light bulb's blown and my step ladder doesn't fucking reach. Like with me on top of the step ladder, I can't reach the bulb. I can't even reach the tray that protects the bulb. So I've actually got to call someone else to help me because I am the shit. But
Trust me.
anyways,
There's an advantage to that. Do you know how often I hit the damn chandelier over my table? I had to switch to something that wasn't metal because I got tired of bleeding from the back of my head.
okay. In the last place I live, I would refuse to use the top shelves of all the cupboards because I couldn't reach them. I could reach like the front tip, so I'd put something with the handle out and I wouldn't close the cupboard because if you close the cupboard, it shoves the cup back a little bit and then I can't reach it. So my roommate actually got me a 2-pack of step ladders.
Step ladders come in 2-packs?
Yes, they do on Amazon.
And
Ah,
there
okay.
are
Little.
also ladders that can like sometimes you'll get one with 2 different types, or you'll get like the scaffold ladders that hook together. There's all kinds of fun ladder systems.
Yeah.
They come in
So-
pints?
Okay,
Anyways,
so
let's
moving
get
on.
on to Tom's made-up topic of the evening.
We are all a little bit introverted here.
Little.
A
Some
little.
more than others. Tom is the most social out of all of us.
One of us put a very appropriate comment on our Discord that basically it was, what was it? You know that you are an introvert when a lockdown comes along. We're all told to stay home, and your life doesn't really change very much.
That's exactly correct. I am large, baby.
So I thought I would put out the question
For free, of course.
where I have to go. I love my family. Don't get me wrong, and I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving dinner. But I also am a little bit always dread going to family events because I know I'm going to be sitting around bored, or worse yet, end up getting in another argument about politics with someone. So,
Oh, God.
what do you guys do? And what do you do with these social events? Do you find ways to keep yourself entertained? Do you not go? What are your suggestions?
So real quick. I'm going to say this. This year, you have the best excuse to not fucking attend shit. Use it. Okay? I'm not going to mention what it is because YouTube's picky, and we know that we have someone streaming to it. That is our always
Let's just
wonderful
say
Judd.
2020.
Yes. It's
There's a reason
2020. you have plenty of excuses not to go to any event outside of what you are like mandatory. Like you need food, some of us need to work, and doctors, health. That's it. Mandatory, cool. Outside of that, you can basically say, you know what, sorry, 2020. And just basically just like I'm sorry, I can't. I can't. This year is all about I fucking can't. But for years outside of this one, past, present, and future, it's going to be a little bit of a mess because we're in a pandemic. So let's continue on our way to this question. If you would please, Tom, read it in its completeness. Because
Dear Starport Omega crew, I am an
night, Peanut Gorilla. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Night, Peanut Gorilla.
Have a great night, man.
Thank you for sticking with us for 2 hours and 11 minutes so far.
Yeah.
I adore you, and we appreciate you. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm an introvert, which means I get easily stressed and worn out dealing with family events like Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners. I really don't want to go to Thanksgiving dinner with the family, but I feel obligated. I mean, I love my family, but I just don't like being around them more than I have to. How do you deal with family events that you have to attend? Thanks in advance. Socially Anxious Alex. And I wonder about Alex's rainbow signature, if that's a clue to anything, but I'm going to assume it's not. I say we just go down the list from the top to the bottom on Bunny's screen, and everybody just throws in their what they do at family gatherings.
All right. I love my family. Small freaking doses. My parents and I do not agree on politics or religion, and those are the primary topics they always want to talk about. So, yeah, small doses. However, I'm fortunate that in large gatherings, my family tends to be more stable. We don't have major blowouts. We don't tend to have major arguments. Most of the time, if one of us walks away, they get the point we don't want to talk anymore, which is awesome. But in this case, I'm fortunate that what my parents want to do for Thanksgiving this year is small. They don't want to get a big family together. They don't want to pull both of my brothers all together. They don't want to get in all the extended family. We're going up to Mammoth, and it's going to be my brother, his wife, their child, my mom, my dad, and me. 6 people total in a giant cabin, all with our own rooms. So I'm actually fortunate that I can do something with my family on Thanksgiving, but it's not risky. We all stay at home. My brother is a doctor and gets tested weekly for COVID. And as a result, most of us are incredibly cautious. My entire family comes from a medical background, so we're all paranoid about catching it, especially around our parents who are in their 70s, and despite their good health, this is still dangerous as hell for them, period. So as far as avoiding this, I've got to say, if you're in California like me, you have a fantastic excuse. There is a statewide lockdown in place. If you do not have to travel, it is strongly suggested that you do not travel. They've also put in recommendations for gathering sizes, which is 5 or 6 people max. Now, that is a great legal way to get around it, but the shortest answer is, look, this is a really bad time to gather. I mean,
yeah,
the news has given us a really
like I said
good
before, outside of the pandemic, what is your solutions? Because the pandemic's not going to last the rest of our lives, unless,
True.
unfortunate things, unfortunate events occur. Anyways,
yeah, let's not go down that road.
Outside.
I'm a full-time student, and I live on my own. I don't get the week off. I get Thursday off. That's it. Maybe if I don't have classes on Friday, they'll cancel that. But I still have class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The best, and most of the time, this is when major projects are due. I had a major project that was 25% of my grade due Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I was too stressed out. I didn't wake up till 4 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. My phone was off. I told my parents, leave me alone, go away. I'm sleeping. Being a full-time student has a certain advantage around that time, around major events. I've got a paper to write. I've got a project.
Finals thing is, I'm too busy. Avoidance is risky. Got it.
Pretty much. I mean, avoid as much as you can. I'm fortunate that my family is like, hey, look, I've got stuff to do. And they're like, okay, that's cool. We'll talk about it in the future.
So he's got a pretty cool family that is understanding and accepting of his differences, and especially in his schedule. So that is unique to a degree, and it's very healthy and balanced. Tom's situation, where he feels that he might get into a political argument, that's a little less fortunate. So, final, you're a lucky bastard. There we go.
Oh, if you heard the politics I had to deal with, you wouldn't be agreeing with that statement.
Yeah, but you basically you have an easy way of not being guilt tripped after the fact. Like they don't really, it's not like your mom's gonna be like, but final, I thought you cared and loved this family.
Oh, they pull that all the time. I just go, yeah, that's nice. I've got other things to do.
So it just doesn't bug final at all. Got it. Okay, so he's immune to basically what the issue is in this question.
Kind of. There's a general lack of caring.
Okay. So, I guess that means I'm next according to Tom's agenda of how he wants to get out of this list.
Yeah, you are next on your screen anyway.
I can't hear
his microphone is muted.
Hey, Tom, you're muted.
Yeah, some say that's when I sound the best.
I was going to say, did dropping that stream deck have a little problem there?
No, actually, I muted the mic, so my creaks and my cheering weren't interrupting.
Ah.
We can't hear it.
Yeah, Bunny's next.
Fine. Okay, so I actually have a slide.
You have a slide? Oh, right. Sorry, you want me to show your slide?
Okay, so one of the things that I had fun with in college is psychology, and a part of me is getting to understand other people because I'm not like other people, and this has been pointed out my entire life. The one thing you have to learn to do is accept the fact that you can only control your own reactions. When it comes to being around your family, especially family members that on any other occasion you would have nothing to do with, the one thing that you have to keep in mind is they're going to do things, they're going to say things to try to trigger a response. If you know that politics gets, their political opinion gets under your skin, if they bring it up, you change the subject. If they pursue it, you get up and go do something. Heck, just tell them you gotta go use the bathroom. Go outside. Take a small walk. You need fresh air. When you're gathering with family, there's usually a lot more people in houses that normally don't have that. So, especially in the wintertime, you have the heat on, you have body heat. You have an excuse to go out for a cold walk if it gets cold where you're at. Some places around here, we don't actually get cold except for like 2 weeks of the year. So by Christmas or Thanksgiving, sometimes we'll have 80-degree weather. It's really annoying. Sometimes we'll just have ice, which is very convenient for not ever having to see family. But some families have a harder dynamic. They have more expectations, and when you're a black sheep or an introvert, it can be harder to navigate. Take a deep breath. I know that's something that seems stupid and it won't help, but when something's happening or you're feeling overwhelmed, to take a moment to collect your thoughts and to breathe is important, because that feeling of dread and that overwhelming sensation will grow if you let it. And again, we'll refer to the first thing, except the fact is the only thing you control is yourself. You have to maintain control, because the moment you lose control, that's when it feels like everyone else can ruin the holidays for you. For me, it's basically I'm not gonna go. I have two other siblings. My brother is not leaving his house. He works at a children's hospital. He's tested constantly. he's not leaving his house unless he has to. He basically works from home other than going out, getting tested, and every now and then going in and fixing something. He's not going to risk going back to work after the holidays, after being exposed to people like my sister who got COVID and turned around and went and moved a state away so her kids could go back to class.
Oh, man.
He's not going to risk that
boy.
for, kids that are in the children's hospital. He's not going to risk that for himself. His livelihood, him and his husband's careers. He's not going to risk that, which I respect. And my father has come to terms with it. My father was actually going to just have the entire Thanksgiving meal catered. So my sister said, "Oh, I can't cook, so I'm not gonna go." So I'm basically just going to stop by my dad's house and drop off an entirely cooked turkey that's still stuffed. And then I'm going to go home and we're going to have a phone call. And I'm okay with this because I was declining to go because my sister actually refused to get her flu shot again this year. So I cannot be around anyone that is not vaccinated against certain things because my body can't fight it off. If her kids hadn't gotten a chicken pox vaccine, I could not be around them. I've had it twice. I don't want it a third time. My dad's had it three times. Like every time one of us kids got the chicken pox, he got it.
Wow.
Oof.
And he got it as an adult.
Which is pretty harsh from what I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get my immune system from that man, just like I get my heart from that man. And I've already suffered through the chicken pox twice. Please don't make me do it again. Same thing for when people are like, "Oh, it's no big deal. It's just mumps," or when they sit there and say it's no big deal. It's no big deal for you. It's no big deal for people who have a working proper immune system. I got an upper respiratory cold. I'm not going to socialize with people who will willingly come around me when they have a sniffle. Unless it's allergies. If you can sit there and say, yes, this is allergies, cool. If you don't know, you are now the plague. That's it.
Fair
I
enough.
believe if you are having such a bad time at a family event, do not force yourself to be around fucking toxic family members. It's not worth it. It's not. Your mental health, your self-worth is not worth sacrificing to satisfy some dynamic that we have been forced to swallow and accept our entire childhood. It's not worth it. Just because you share blood or, a marriage connection with someone, you don't have to be a part of that. And that's okay. So,
you have one more bullet
Jim,
point there? Okay, yeah.
If I didn't put you to sleep, it's your turn to answer the question.
Whose turn?
Yours.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know whose turn it is. You know how the screens get mixed up. I never know who's
I said
on top.
Jim. I said Jim.
Like I was paying attention.
Interestingly
I
enough, I'm
know.
looking at Bunny's
I
screen
know you're
and looking at Bunny's screen on Twitch, and I'm looking at mine, and everybody's actually in the same order except for the projections, the desktop sharing.
Okay.
Anyways, go ahead, Jim.
I was paying attention. I don't know. I guess I'm a little luckier. Most of my family are actually nice people. I like them. But like a lot of introverts, my problem isn't whether people are nice or not. My problem is there's more than 3 of them. No, seriously. And I start getting overly paranoid. It's exhausting for me, and it's just no fun. For years and years, for decades, I put up with it and was like Tom. I would leave the room. I would bring something to do. I would have an excuse to get away. And I'm finally just like, you know what? This is your family. They're supposed you tell them things. And so I told them. I am an introvert for real. I don't like people, but I can't be around a large group of people for very long without it being exhausting. So unless you want me to drink to where that doesn't matter, I'm just going to stay at home, and I will see all of you after the holidays or before the holidays, a couple of you during the holidays if you want, but I can't be around a great big group because it drives me crazy, and I hope you understand. If you don't, well, ask Tom. I have no trouble burning bridges. If I don't, and I'm not trying to be cruel, but at the same time, much like Bunny said, sometimes you got to look out for yourself.
Yeah.
One of these years, Jim and I are going to be in the same town again, and Thanksgiving will be a LAN party and turkey sandwiches.
And
yeah.
it just sounds awesome. Every year. I mean, I have a Thanksgiving dinner every year. I go get a turkey or a ham, and I cook for myself. I usually call all my friends, and then Tom and I play video games over the internet all the rest of the day. You know, and anybody that wants to join in can join in. It's not I don't sit at home and go, oh God, I'm such a pathetic person. Bullshit, man. I'm having fun. The rest of that, that's your problem. I'm not sitting around bored. But, you got to take care of yourself. I'm with Bunny on that one. And if you really are an introvert or having a problem, unless you think it's going to cause a bigger problem, level with your family members and your friends. You'd be surprised how often they will be relieved to know what the hell the problem was all this time.
You don't hate them, you just...
I don't, it's like, I don't hate you, you're not weird, this is what's going on. Most of them will understand. And if they don't, burn that bridge, baby.
Let's keep this a little bit briefer because we're already at 2.5 hours. So.
Oh,
I'm done.
Yeah. So
I'm done. Go.
In reference to the burning the bridge and telling your family, my grandmother held things together for us, and we basically, as soon as she passed away, the family burnt that bridge, and the reason is because me and my father are atheists, and they're not. So we were outcasted, which we're fine with because they weren't really connecting with us outside of being forced to, and that wasn't healthy for them and it wasn't healthy for us. And now every now and then someone pokes a message on Facebook and it's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
So Judd. Oh, good, Tom.
I was just gonna say Judd.
Oh, nice.
Judd.
Hello.
Yeah, can I help you?
Can you answer the question at hand?
Welcome to Judd's. Would you like the large mega burger today?
Oh, a burger sounds good.
Our specials are.
We have drinks.
No. Let's get back on topic because
Well, unfortunately for me, my mother's side of the family, which is the family that we always would gather with, they're more agnostic than atheists. And since my grandparents passed away, basically the rest of the family just kind of. I've got an uncle and his wife and kid lives in Northern California. Another uncle and his wife live in Washington, and another aunt and her husband lives in, I think, Georgia.
Family history with Judd Sandage.
And then the one uncle I had that lived in San Diego for the longest time, and Final knows him. We stopped by his house down in Encinitas.
Oh hell yeah!
He moved out to North Carolina, so we're all
doing our own thing now. Got it.
Yeah.
So Judd's solution: do your own thing, move away.
Basically,
I've considered having a.
It's never been one of those things. I've always loved getting together with the family, spending Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'd spend Christmas vacation at my grandmother's.
Judd, how many people live in your house?
Besides me, my parents.
Yeah.
That's it.
What about your brother?
I don't have a brother.
Oh, I thought you had a brother.
I'm an only child. Nope.
Okay. See, that's so weird because I'm so used to having siblings that I just assume everyone has one. I keep forgetting that there's that, and I've met a lot of people that are only children, and it seems like they're more connected with their parents, and they can actually withstand living in the same house as their parents.
But no, ours has been not a dysfunctional family. It's been quite nice. I used to spend Christmas vacation at Feed the Ducks Grandma and Grandpa's because they were living in Brea and they had a regional
Duck pond?
park.
Oh, park. Okay.
It's a regional park and it has a duck pond in it.
Okay, so he has no solution to an introvert's problem because his family loves him. He loves them. Tom,
Well,
what is your solution to your problem?
the short version is,
Yeah.
so the first thing is everybody said, many people said the same thing. It's okay to say no. And that's the first thing that's most important. That's the thing that's most important to understand. That you're living your life. You're not living someone else's life. If you want to spend the holiday alone, or you want to have a Friendsgiving with a few of your closest friends instead of the family that's crazy, then do that. The truth is I love my family and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. So it's not really a problem for me to go to Thanksgiving, but I get bored and I don't want to watch Thursday. I don't want to watch whatever the football bowl is this year. So
Sports ball.
I have a nice laptop.
Yep.
I will be at some point logging on and Jim and I would be playing Diablo together. And I have just learned to take my entertainment with me. And when I reach the limit of my social tolerance, I'll bust that laptop open and dig into my own world, or I'll bust out the iPad and get some reading done. And
I feel personally attacked with the sports bull comment because I was the only one in my entire family that likes sports outside of my cousins that have like zero contact. And they're not like first generation cousins. There's too much space between my dad and his brother. So
Yeah.
they're my dad's nephew's kids.
But I
who
think
played sports, and they don't really watch sport.
Yeah.
They just play
You
them.
need
And
to
it's
turn
like,
in your nerd card.
I think the most important thing
I do not.
I think the
and
most
you
important
can
thing
bite
that
me.
introverts need to learn is that it's okay. It's okay. You're allowed the holidays are for you. They're not for everybody else. They're for you. Your holiday is for you. Jim's holiday is for Jim. Judd's, and we all need to learn to sometimes step back and realize that it's okay for us to take that holiday to recharge and rest ourselves and not feel like we're obligated to give that day to somebody else.
And for anyone that needs to hear this, it's okay to not be okay. Like if
Oh,
you have
absolutely.
some serious issues with everything that's going on, you're stressed, do what you need to do and accept it's okay to sometimes just not be okay. It happens to everyone and you don't have to hide it. And if you need to, go and close yourself in a room on Thanksgiving and not come out, more power to you.
Sorry.
I get it.
So now we're reaching our last segment. Jim has been putting this off for 2 shows now because we've been running so long that we haven't had time. Oh, you've been working on you've been diligently working on the Star Trek fan fiction stuff.
He's also
Star Trek
dying
fan.
in Diablo.
Well, I had to kill a goblin. Well, lately, I can tell you that my second favorite Star Trek series was Enterprise. And I found a person on YouTube. His name is Aaron Volansky, I think his name is. He's done 5 episodes so far of Enterprise fan fiction or fan film. Writes them himself, builds the sets, the whole bit. They are really good. The one that I just watched recently was In the Line of Duty. They're doing them recently. They are sticking with CBS guidelines of being 15, to 17 minutes, non-connected stories, but in the same universe. And they're quite good. I like the writing. The acting is good. The sets are like if you've gone to see a play at a theater. They're not bad, but they're more to get the idea across of where you are than to look like you're on the bridge of the Enterprise. It looks like a bridge and it's made out of metal and you know where you're at. And I like that too. So it's pretty good. If you get a chance to go see them, you should go see them. Is In the Line of Duty, and there's 4 other ones that their names escape now.
So I'm noticing that the first comment, was that an entire film? And you said these are 2 15-minute episodes?
They have put out 5 episodes so far.
Oh,
They're
okay.
each right around about 15 minutes long. And it's less an episode like a fully contained story with 3 acts and a prologue and an ending than it is like if you saw a coda for a play.
Yeah.
You know, it's like without giving too much away, without giving the story away, there is one of the episodes is 2 people beam on a derelict ship. Somebody is trying to keep the ship and they have to take it back. And there's 15 minutes of tracking this person down, reasoning with them a little bit, and then showing them the muscular side of the Federation. You know, and it all happens in about 15 minutes, but it wouldn't stand up as a full episode. There's none of there. It's like a B story. And it would be cut up into the rest of it.
Interestingly enough, I used to think that you couldn't tell a story in 15 minutes. I thought that was insane when Paramount came out with that guidance, or CBS came out with that guidance. But you know what I've been watching is a little animated series called Steven Universe. And Steven Universe, cartoons in general, they generally are half-hour episodes. Every animated show I can think of recently, especially animated comedy shows, are half-hour episodes. Steven Universe airs 15-minute episodes. And when you order when you buy them on iTunes, you get a 30-minute episode, but you get 2 15-minute episodes in that 30-minute block.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell a surprisingly detailed story in those 30 minutes. So as frustrating as it is for CBS to go, well, you should limit yourself to 15 minutes and we promise we won't sue. I'm surprised at the kind of stories that you can tell in that kind of time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't really think that Paramount could sue as long as you're not making money off of it. But obviously they can have it taken down for YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, the restrictions on you for doing that is you can have 2 15-minute episodes that are in the same story. But then they have to go out to something else, and it's because the person that caused all the problems was the person that did Axanar.
Cracking Prelude to Axanar, yeah.
And I actually found out a little bit more about him. He did Gods and Monsters. He did one of the other Star Trek movies that were fan movies that were made that had original cast members in it. I mean, some people say he's making them too good. I say he was making money and he was trying to get Paramount's attention, and he did, and it was not the attention he had hoped for.
Yeah.
Also the one, and he was also involved, the ones that I talked about before, the first ones I talked about, he was involved in those too. Those are excellent episodes. I put those up against Star Trek Continues. I put that up against any show in the original series, except for like Amok Time or City on the Edge of Forever or something. But for the majority of the episodes, those stand up just as good. But that's what brought on the guidelines.
So looking at Star Trek Line of Duty, it looks like Aaron Van Derkley is the director. And we see he's got quite a few credits here. Looks like
he's also done some other ones. He does some Doctor Who.
Uh-huh.
He has got some Sarah Brown, Sarah
Jane.
Sarah Jane. There you go, Sarah Jane.
Yeah, and it's really sad. It's really sad for the community that she passed away when she did, because that was actually a really good series.
Yeah.
But he's done quite a few things, and everything I've seen so far has been good. There are some behind the scenes on there for Star Trek, and also he had done some commentary reels that you can watch afterwards, and they talk about what they had done. They're very well done. If you have the time, you should look them up.
So there we go. Star Trek Line of Duty, a Star Trek fan production.
Very nice. It looks like we have a lot to look forward to, even from fan films regarding Star Trek. So, Tom?
I, for one, would like to thank all of you guys for being here. And for those of you that are watching, thank you for watching, because you're the reason we do this.
Yeah, trust me, we could do all this without recording it and going through all the hassle of the production, but we're doing it because, honestly, it's kind of fun to do. But it's also, I like interacting with the community. That's the thing that is always going to be the most fun.
Yeah. Interacting with you viewers is definitely a highlight. And you guys know what time it is, even though it is extremely late for most of us here in the US. I'm going to continue with my tradition of ending this podcast and most of my live streams with a raid. And we have a super special raid today. It's one of my favorite streamers and a really becoming a good friend of mine, Axum666. So I'm going to go ahead and...
Before we go, space. It's really big. On your missions between the stars, you're going to need entertainment. Be sure to stop at Starport Omega and pick up your Starport Omega podcast at a Starport Omega near you.
Oh, also, remember, wherever you go, there you are.
Okay.
You're being so goofy.
Fun side, really?
For all of you that celebrate Thanksgiving, have a good one. And for those of you that don't, please forgive white people for what we've done.
Yeah, trust me, we need it.
So anyways, back on.